ladies and gentlemen, all around America and the few international locations like Australia and Poland that actually watch this podcast. I want to thank you all. This is the Black Powder Podcast. I'm Marcus Matthews, the only real libertarian that has ever existed. I'm getting that out of the way right now because there might be some misspoken words or some horse malarkey. Be prepared for horse malarkey tonight. And this is the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast that has also ever existed. So you're getting two unicorns in one spot, people. And I am the rider of both of those unicorns simultaneously. And tonight, I have a special treat as Eric Parker, Bold Liberty, cannot be here tonight. New father. Shout out to Eric. Nor Tubb, and I murder his, I just call him Pastor Tubb. I murder his last name because I don't speak German. He's not here either because he's off doing international things. So I'm sorry that I had to bring you my special guest host tonight ahead of time. If he says anything about me being a libertarian or my mic sounding like crap or anything, just know that this was an intentional insult upon my manhood that he has bestowed upon me. And without further ado, my good friend Free from the Are You Smarter Than a Podcast Politician, podcast. And I was a guest on that. How you doing tonight, my good man?
Good, buddy. Thanks for having me. Love your show. Big fan of all you guys. I've had you all on the show. You're a great time. And this is like one of the OG podcasts and, honored to be here.
Well, that was very humbling to me because I was already getting in the defensive posture due to our pregame because I know you're going to give me a good shellacking tonight, and I look forward to it. No, I'm just kidding. No, Free and I are
we'll
best
save
friends.
It for your third appearance on Are You Smarter Than a Politician?
Yeah. There's an unfortunate thing for me that I simply can't get away. I live in the fourth largest economy in the entire world. And
really? You've never mentioned that.
I don't think I have.
No.
And I simply can't get away from Florida man for some reason, or Florida man. Just like the headlines in every newspaper in America when they describe something crazy happening. And I want to thank you so much for filling in for my guys because you're one of my favorite people. And tonight we're continuing our series on local libertarians running for office. And I just wanted to, because you always chime in, Free, I just wanted to get your, where you're at with the local scene versus the federal scene real quick.
Yeah, I think the federal scene is gone. I think our votes don't matter at all at the federal level. I think, every once in a while you get lucky with the Thomas Massey, but, the other 534 times you get bullshit. So the local is where it's at. Like, that's where you can have an actual effect, where your vote actually matters, working on, working within your community and within organizations. You can actually build coalitions and make things happen. And most importantly, you can go in and pound on somebody's desk and stare them right in the eye when they're not doing the job that you're paying them to do, right? So, right. I mean, local's where it's at. I have all the admiration in the world for the guys and ladies that are running locally. I try to get on here when you guys have local candidates and help, support that and make a donation. And, so I'm very happy to be here to talk about that tonight.
That's awesome. That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy that you chimed in. And without further ado, we're going to take it to the great state of North Carolina, which is a lot of people can consider purplish. And within that purplish, you have to have yellow or gold, as we like to say. But this is a state, and I know I've created two libertarians in North Carolina that used to live out here and both moved out there. But the city of Charlotte, which I've been to one time, beautiful city, has a local LP candidate running for mayor there. And without further ado, let's bring in our guest tonight, Mr. Rob Yates of Charlotte, North Carolina. How you doing, sir?
What's up? How's it going?
What's up, Rob?
It is going. So, just to get this started, and being that you're a local candidate without maybe the national platform, tell us who you are, what you do, why you're running, why you're an LP guy, all just the whole story, so to speak.
Sure. So I'm from the heart of the Viper's Den, born in DC, spent the early years in DC and not like the surrounding area, 32nd Street. Moved out to Virginia when I was younger. I came up in like I don't know, I guess you would call it like a sort of Republican/conservative household, and all the ideas of like small government stuck with me. And then I got to high school, and I just remember the two issues that really bugged me were so saying no to gay marriage. And it's not like I wouldn't consider myself an activist on that count, but the idea that the government could tell two people like you can't sign a contract together, and putting people in jail for smoking pot. Because I got into smoking pot in high school, and I was like, this is nowhere near as bad as they say it. And I had, no idea where I was going. And the 97, 98 Republican primaries come around, and I'm watching, and this guy I'd never heard of by the name of Ron Paul is up there speaking. And it was like the clouds had parted and the light shining down. And I'm like, this is the language that I'm thinking. And a libertarian was born. I owe a lot to Reason Magazine in college, a lot to Jon Stewart, honestly, for anti-war stuff, and The Daily Show, and just kept going through COVID. Kind of normal, like I hate what's going on, but pendulum swings, the parties sort of hold each other in check. And then in COVID, like the craziness, I think that really kind of started with the Patriot Act and NSA wiretapping and spying really hit a peak level. Like they're not even going to pretend to pay attention to the boundaries that are supposed to be in place. They're going to take as much as they can get. So I started getting really active with local affiliates, got engaged on a case. Our governor candidate, Mike Ross, was the one to start, but Spike Cohen and You Are the Power ran the mantle where cops had tased a homeless veteran. His service dog ended up dying. It was a whole thing, like clear assault, and we're finally seeing some progress on that. But one of the things we need very desperately in the liberty movement and the Libertarian Party are candidates. And I think the key to candidates is that, like, unless you're, one of the chosen ones from the uniparty, you're probably going to lose, and you're probably going to lose more than once, but you lose better, and your goals get better, and you get higher percentages, and you raise more money, and you spread the message, and eventually you win, or you learn how to win, and you can show other people how to win. And Joe, it's funny you said that, because Mike's website is Fire the Uniparty. I had my Fire the Uniparty shirt on before this for this, and I spilled something on it right before my last live stream. So I like this Punks for Liberty shirt. But yeah, so my second time running for mayor of Charlotte, and I ran for North Carolina General Assembly last year. I'm also the communications director for the Libertarian Party of North Carolina. But it really is. So when I first signed up to run for mayor in 2023, I'd never run for office before. And I got an invite to a candidate event. And I show up, the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday morning prayer breakfast, meet the candidates. They cover something every Tuesday. And I show up thinking I'm just going to be like shaking hands and chatting with people. And all of a sudden I'm debating the mayor of Charlotte. And, it's out there. I think I did okay, like, especially for my first event. I had some good answers, some bad answers, really sort of learning things. But I had the same event this past Tuesday, and again, debating the mayor of Charlotte. And if you look at the two articles describing the debates 2 years ago, it was rightly critical of my performance, some of the areas I didn't know what I was talking about, coming up short on answers. And on this one, it was talking about just like sharp answers, both candidates demonstrating their prowess and their understanding of issues going around. And it's just like, we need this. We need to keep doing stuff. As long as we're moving, as long as we're trying, the collective they, and I mean, sort of the elite class, the state, the people that want to hoard power and take away our rights in the process, they can't win until we give up. And that's what they want to do. They want to break your spirit. They want to make you give up. They want you to stop. And I don't know about y'all, but I will never, maybe I shouldn't say this in public record, but they're going to have to kill me. I will never stop.
It's not nothing bad to stay on public record, because I think that's what a true American is, if you're a constitutional American, free. Go ahead, my man.
So let's start from the beginning. You've run, this is the third time I think you said. Why run as a libertarian?
So there are strategic considerations in that question. In North Carolina, we're and thank you. That's my website. Got my planks. I'm very happy with the messaging on that website. But for North Carolina, we have the second largest number of registered libertarians in the country after California, we also have 4 times as many people. We have by far the largest number of registered libertarians by percentage of the population. We're growing like our compound annual growth rate, if you're a finance nerd, but it's something significant. It's been like 8% year over year since 2025. We got over 1 million votes for our something like 52 candidates last year. We broke records for governor, lieutenant governor, auditor. We covered the spread in a significant number of races and completely covered the spread in 2 General Assembly races, denying the Republicans a supermajority. And all of a sudden, what's happening this year, I can't go into too much detail, but we have representatives from both parties making official requests and sit-down meetings and like, where can we work with y'all? Because we are now starting to represent a meaningful power in the voting bloc, in the political system at large. One of the big things is Republicans have passed bills to give us full constitutional carry. So we have open carry, but we still don't have, we did get rid of permits, but we still don't have full constitutional carry for concealed carry in North Carolina. And it's passed 3 times in a row. The Democrat governors have vetoed it, and they will override other vetoes, and then they bitch out on the constitutional carry. And the rumor mill, and it's a reliable rumor mill, but I can't prove it to be fair, says that the NRA has been calling their buddies who are Republicans and saying, we love that sweet concealed carry certification money. Don't make this one go away. And so when they didn't do it last time, we picked a couple of vulnerable districts that are very in favor of your right to defend yourself and ran strong 2A candidates. And sure enough, they lost in those 2 districts. And we're happy about that. And now they want to sit down with us. So running as a libertarian, it matters. The more you run as a libertarian. Now, I think that just having the L next to someone's name is better than not, because there's exposure. There's people starting to Google what is a libertarian. But if you're going to run, you should be running to win, even if you know you can't. And you run to win because you learn. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And maybe you're not throwing $1 million at it and running to win in that sense, but you are running with the objective of like, this is a serious campaign. My messaging is going to be good. I'm going to reach as many people as possible. So I got 4.7% of the vote last time. And Charlotte's a weird city because it's really heavily Democratic, and then the Republicans will generally vote for the Republican. But citywide, I was expecting about 3.5%, so I beat it by like 1.2 points. But given the sort of hoopla around the stabbing on the train and crime in Charlotte, and we become a flashpoint, I'm optimistic that I can approach 10% this time.
All right,
That's great.
So Mike ran for governor. He's a friend of the podcast. He did extremely well in North Carolina. I want to point that out. I think it was hundreds of thousands, right? It wasn't
193,000. I was his campaign manager and then his comms director.
193,000.
Something like that.
I got a comment. I'm going to ask Free to bring this one in here.
What issue is the current mayor wrong on and not popular that you have and will challenge him on? Did you make me read that because there was grammatical problems there? I think we got the gist.
I just figured that was one of your people, and I default to the ebonical comments.
Joe Hanush is top 3 Florida libertarian, if not number 1. So you're 100% right about that.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just it is what it is. But yeah, what issue?
While I'm on as the guest host, Marcus, I'll read all the ones that don't look like coloring book pictures. How about that?
All right.
That's pretty funny.
All right.
So
So
it's actually, that's an interesting question. Because there's one particular issue right now in Charlotte that is really driving a wedge in between all the traditional political powers. They are proposing it's a 14% or 1 percentage point sales tax increase to finance a whole bunch of sort of nebulous transportation improvements, and they have some specifications of what they want to do, but nothing that they could be held to. And there's even more sort of chicanery than you would normally see in a government contract situation going on. But the mayor is very much in favor of it, and she's okay. She gets a bad rap. Charlotte is not a strong mayor model. She's very political. She's very connected, but the city council makes a lot of the decisions. And then we have an absurd governance structure, even for government standards, where the city manager makes a lot of the decisions. He's making $500,000 a year. And then we have a board of commissioners, and then the county has people on both, and they're making decisions over the city, and we're a Dillon rule state, so there's only limited things we can theoretically do. So the two big issues that I've sort of really split myself off from her on are being completely opposed to this sales tax increase, and also just there are things that we can do to improve the situation and give people back some rights that the state won't let us do. And I said I would rather ask for forgiveness than permission. I would just do them, and let's go to court. Let's see them try to sue me for giving people the right to open a barber shop in their basement, because zoning restrictions is one of the big ones.
Well, that's one of the main hindrance to capitalism. The main hindrance to capitalism is government. And that's what I've heard throughout this local candidate series. We've always talked about how to get government, specifically government permitting, and all those issues government puts in front of you to hinder your ability to actually be a capitalist in the United States, which I find moronically ironic that in the capitalist center of the known universe, you have to go through the government to open a business. And that is the most anti-capitalist thing ever.
It's
but
ridiculous.
Yeah, but this is where, and this is why the series is so important. This is where we can affect change and start bringing down home prices, start capitalizing in people's ideas by limiting the government in their lives. And this is how we move forward. And on your platform, you talk about housing, which is a huge deal in America right now. How we've had other candidates talk about how they would reduce housing costs and whatnot. What is your stance, and what's your plan on that?
So again, North Carolina loves to be different. Charlotte loves to be different. The straightforward answer is let the free market loose. Let people build. Stop talking about affordable housing. All housing is affordable to someone. And if it's not, the price will adjust. Let people build expensive houses, because then the current expensive houses get a little cheaper, and so on and so forth, and people can start affording new houses. But immediately, I would actually be sort of a thorn in the side of people that want to develop more. And the reason is we're a centrally planned city, and we're seeing all of the downsides of that right now. So we have a city council that they have a unified development ordinance that they just passed, but they still have to approve every new development site. And the only people that can afford everything and the law firms they need to get the approval are these big out-of-state developers, who are also the ones, surprise coincidence, who happen to be funding much of the re-election campaigns for city council members who are somehow making $40,000 a year in city council, but driving Mercedes and BMWs and flying private, when they go to their stuff in DC. It's ridiculous. So I would put a freeze on some of this development, and I would get rid of the central planning aspect of it, and then I would let people who own the property develop the property, find a way to turn it into a financially productive asset for them, which is how, This shit ain't complicated. Like, this is how the free market works. If there's a demand for housing on that land, people will find a way to meet that demand in a way that's most beneficial to them, and so on and so forth, and it spreads. I said in the debate, the two cities right now that are doing better than anywhere else in the there's two places in the United States doing well on housing costs, and it's Austin and Minneapolis. And what do they do different from everyone else? They build houses. Everyone else stops building houses. They put restrictions on houses. You got environmental restrictions and affordable housing restrictions. And are we giving enough to people who blah, blah? No, they just build houses. And sure enough, that works.
Free.
So when you're dealing with voters, do you think they know more about local? Do they know more about federal? Like, what do they want to talk about? Where are their heads at? Like, and then how do you engage with them based on, if you're talking to them about Charlotte and they start talking about, the government shutdown, like, how do you work with them on that?
So that's actually, like, I think one of the most important questions, not just here, but like for the entire libertarian movement. Because we don't read people well. We don't know how to steer a conversation diplomatically. And next thing you know, it's like, I always joke, someone asks about something like housing costs, and you hear someone explaining why dropping the bomb in Hiroshima and Nagasaki was an immoral act. And it's like, well, you just lost that voter.
I have a graphic for that, but we're not on my show.
I think that the Democrats in Charlotte are a lot more engaged locally because they have so much control. Their party is really two factions. Oh God, the guy's name that starts with a B, where everything will, it's not Banyan. I can't think of his name. It'll come to me as soon as we hang up. But the rule that things will inevitably split into these two factions, I don't necessarily think it's true, but I do think under our current system where you're battling for the political power, it's pretty accurate. So you have one side that is more socialist leaning in business, but then surprisingly more socially conservative. Like, you see more backing of the police, you see more response to church. They just want, like, they're bigger on the, we need more occupational licensing and we need more money to the homeless. On the flip side, you have a side that has, I think, more, this is where you get all, like, the $300 million mayor's DEI initiative. And then you go look at, like, where did the money from the DEI initiative go? Like, to a bunch of consulting firms. So it didn't even, like I would quibble.
People look like Marcus.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, it didn't even, like.
Thank you. I won that one.
No. Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's like, it doesn't even, I would disagree with the implementation of it from the beginning, but it doesn't even go to the people. It's just like this slush fund for donors. It's just this big circular at the top. Yeah. So with Democrats, you got to be able to talk the local language. With Republicans, because they carry roughly 17 to 22% of the vote, but they're not doing much more. So the Republican that's running now, Terry Donovan, like, they held a press conference at the train station where that girl, where Irina was stabbed. It's a lot of, like, she's calling for Trump to bring in the National Guard. It's bread and circuses. They're trying to get their attention. They're trying to rile people up. I don't know. She's smart. She's been involved in the Charlotte community for a long time in real estate in a number of ways. I suspect she probably has a better handle on the issues than she wants to let on, but everything she's doing is just, she's got her megaphone and she's screaming from every corner that she can.
But before your next question, I just want to say really quick that the two people that I know that are on Facebook are Eric Parker and my mom. Just go ahead, Marcus.
No, I just want to say I think that's the notch libertarians can fit in, because I doubt all three of us could agree on everything. And we understand that. But at the end of the day, we understand that the goal is liberty. And there are many roads to travel to get there. Some of them are rougher than others. Libertarians obviously think that road is pretty smooth, because just all you have to do is get the government out of the way. I mean, that's just a solid principle about being a libertarian. And the problem I think we face is that messaging and getting us out in front. And that's why I think the local candidate is so critical at this point, because, you know, I'm a libertarian that goes back to first voting for Gary Johnson. And we got 4.3, 4.7, whatever it was, million votes. Went down by half with Joe and went down by 60% with Chase. And we're going in the wrong direction. And every time I talk to libertarians, I think we've all coalesced around the fact that we need to start local. And that's why this is so important, that we have the voices of the local candidates that are out there trying to get that message out. And that's why I'm going to take Rob on here. I want to go to your fundraising thing, because I thought your concept was very interesting. And I have your link up for your fundraising. So tell us about what you're talking about with your candidacy and fundraising.
So, okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So I have two different fundraising things. This is, so I hate asking people for money, point blank. Like, every dollar you make, you're lucky if you're actually keeping 45 cents of it after sales tax or income tax, property tax, then sales tax and what you're paying on it, and eventually when you die you pay a tax. But so actually in 11 days it'll be the 10-year anniversary, but I lost my best friend to suicide 10 years ago. And so I've been a big mental health advocate on a private one. So on my website it says, I hate asking for money, don't waste your hard-earned money on me. Because realistically, I'm probably not going to win this race. I have some lofty goals for percentages, but I'm in it for the marathon, and I'm probably not going to.
You got to say spoiler alert when you say that. Like we don't
spoiler.
know how this is going to turn out. Say spoiler alert.
I was kind of disappointed. I was like, I think you're going to win.
That was worse than the last Marvel movie. Don't do that again.
I am running to win. Make no mistake.
Okay.
And I will do this. It is not a 0% chance. There's like 27 things that have to happen exactly right, winning the lottery level. But for the Republican, it is a 0% chance. So I got a better spot than her. But I do say, if you came on to give me money and feel so inclined, you can donate to my walk, which is November 11th this year, the Charlotte one, the Out of the Darkness walk. I also have, and I can send the link over, but I have another fundraising site for the Mecklenburg County Libertarian Party, which is my local affiliate. And they are actively engaged in fighting back on this sales tax, along with, as I was saying, a coalition of one of the ex-mayors of Charlotte, a bunch of Democrats, a very liberal group, some very conservative groups, and one Republican group. Although the Republicans are not getting behind it, which is, I don't know if they're just afraid working with Democrats and libertarians would sully their brand or something. But we are trying to raise $1,000 for that. And that will cover yard signs for me, as well as to push back on the sales tax. So if you have it in your heart to spare a few bucks, again, I hate asking, but know that it is incredibly appreciated. Like it means the world that you would spend hard-earned money on something I'm doing.
All right, we got a comment from our good friend Ryan Woodcraft. I like that guy. You have to know that
you're only allowed to say Ryan Woodcraft when you mention that Ryan Woodcraft had the historic victory in El Paso this year. So
down in the border for El Paso, I fell in love with this.
I don't think singing was part of it, but okay.
You know what? This is what I do, and I don't know if
you're like the Sammy Davis of the Libertarian parties, but what I always tell people.
I'm afraid I can't tap dance as well, but back to Ryan, you have to know the platform and how to apply it, whether it's pragmatic /U0026 incremental approach or a chainsaw swipe. I think we saw what the chainsaw did. We're not going to get into that too much in South America, because I've been asking libertarians to speak on it. It's a crazy situation. We'll get to that later down the line after November. But convey the message to the voters. And I'm not trying to butcher what he's trying to say right here, but what is when you're out there door knocking and whatnot? What's the message you're trying to convey to them?
So I actually, at first, I have no message I'm trying to convey.
Okay.
It's hearts and minds for me, and I do seminars on this. The first thing I ask is like, what's the most important issue to you, and tell me why. Tell me how it's hurting you. If you go and your immediate position is like, I know more than you do, or you're wrong about something, you just create this defensive stance. I don't know. Are you all familiar with Daryl Davis?
Sure. Just saw him at Freedom Fest, in fact.
Oh yeah, nice. So this is the greatest flex I have in the world, but he's actually a friend of mine.
Really?
Yeah, and I've put on a couple of events with him, did a live stream. But I don't believe in heroes, but he's the closest thing I have to one. And he can walk in like this old black jazz piano player to a goddamn KKK meeting, and he's converting 260 people because he doesn't see a racist, he doesn't see a KKK member, he sees a person who happens to have some misguided beliefs. And so I'm like, if he can do that there, I can do it when I'm talking to the everyday voter, right? So who are you as a person? Like, let me get to know you, let me earn the trust, and then when I try to impart one of my ideas, it's going to land. And the message that I like to go with more than I'm right is, how can I instill doubt? Like, how can I plant those seeds that will turn into something later on? So I like to ask questions. I like to ask probing questions and keep, sort of pushing at the assumptions that have created each person's worldview. And then I like to leave with like, here's my card. Like, I'd be honored if you check me out and see if the ideas that I'm presenting maybe answer those questions that we discussed better than what you're doing. Because if you look at what's going on right now, it's not working, and I got some different perspectives on things. And again, like roughly 1.7% better than I was expected to do last election, and I didn't know what I was doing then. So that's why I'm optimistic about this time.
That's great. Yeah, just continuing on that theme, how do you link federal issues to how they affect Charlotte? And so obviously the major headlines, even when you're watching the local news or, following the local news on the internet or whatever, most of the news is going to be the federal news, the shutdown, the National Guard going to cities, possibly even Charlotte at this point because of the subway tragedy. How do you talk to voters about those types of issues?
And so it comes up. I mean, like, it definitely comes up, right?
Sure.
And it's what the media has. I don't want to say pre-programmed, because I don't think it's like they've agreed on this effort. It's just it's incentive structures, and this is how they can drive the most fear to get people to keep clicking on or watching their channel. And so the government shutdown, I thought was going to be bigger news. People don't seem to care, which is on a whole separate level from a libertarian perspective, a heartening thing. Maybe they'll just keep it going. But the National Guard, the federal troops coming in, is a big deal, and crime is a big deal in Charlotte. And we do have a crime problem. We're like one of the top 5 most dangerous cities per capita. By the same token, it's gotten better every year for the last few years. If you're out in the nicer parts of Charlotte, it's not like I've never once gone out in Charlotte in the last 3 or 4 years and thought, I mean, maybe a couple of years ago, I was like, I wonder if I'm going to hear about it for not wearing my mask. But there's certainly no worry that I'm going to be attacked or assaulted. I'm also a big dude. That goes a long way. I was very insistent that my wife stay strapped whenever she's out. She's a lot smaller than I am. But people ask about this stuff because they do see elements of it. It's on the local news, and then they're told from the federal news, Fox is playing on one side, Charlotte's a war zone, only a little better than Portland, and MSNBC is saying, oh, no, there's no crime in Charlotte at all. And I think the two biggest issues we talk about here. So one, I was actually just talking about this on the LP Allies business list, but we have a very serious problem with these sort of leftist postmodern judges who want to let violent criminals walk for like equity reasons. So I don't care what your background is. If you're stabbing people, if you're accused of sexual assault multiple times, if you have violent breaking and entering with a weapon, if it's mental health or if it's just pure criminal behavior, like you shouldn't be out on the streets. And you certainly shouldn't be let out immediately after getting arrested for like your 12th time with 3 felonies on your record. The other problem is the relationship that we have with the police in Charlotte has been fairly antagonistic for a number of years. And so you get a lot of this sort of police bluster and making shows of things, but not actually doing anything to reduce crime. And a few years ago, they started implementing a true community policing program, and it is paying dividends. The community has more trust in the police, and you're seeing crime start to drop, especially in the targeted areas. And my plan for policing in Charlotte is actually to implement like a Camden, New Jersey style full community policing rollout where cops, you know, it's overlap and there's rotation, but they're basically in the same neighborhood for the most of their career. Pay and raises is based not on number of arrests, but on crime reduction and satisfaction, essentially customer satisfaction. I was talking about just private with versus public police options with free last night, but I am trying to, my plan would get it as close to sort of a paid private police force that continues to get paid based on succeeding in stopping the problem that it's hired to stop, not creating some illusion of safety that government officials can point to while people are seeing their civil rights eroded left and right. And we have had that problem in the past.
Well, I want to say this, and rarely will I say this. I want to speak for the entire Black community right now.
You never do this. I'm gonna turn up the volume real quick.
No, this is official. This is an official statement for me for the entire Black.
Did you run this? Did you run this past Jesse Jackson before you decided to do this?
He's a bit senile. This is.
Yeah, I think it's now. Joanne Reed now.
Yeah, it is Joanne Reed, and Don Lemon. So I ran this by Don Lemon and Joanne Reed. I have official sponsorship from the entire Black community to speak this shit that I'm about to say to you right now. As far as that dude on the, it was a subway or a bus in Charlotte.
Subway.
Sorry. It was on the subway in Charlotte. We don't like that motherfucker either. Because more than 8 out of 10 times, those are the assholes that are victimizing us. And so nobody in the Black community likes those type of people. And you're right, Rob. It's these activist judges that are doing the most shit. We don't want him coming back into Black communities terrorizing Black people, because that's what's going to happen first. We don't want those criminals coming into our community. Currently, I speak in the suburbs. I lived in a predominantly Black community when I was much, much younger. And my parents,
before you sold out, right?
Before I sold out, they did well for themselves. So we moved out when I was a young age. But I have family. One of my cousins that I'm extremely proud of, she grew up in Compton during the height of the crack epidemic and gang warfare. She's like a nurse with a master's degree in nursing. She's under 40 and she's already bought her 3rd house. So it is about what you want, but I could tell you firsthand, we don't like those motherfuckers either. So don't nobody get that shit twisted ever. I'm sorry to the National Party for such language. I'm sorry to everybody if I upset your sensibilities, but I've always felt the constant urge to put that out there that we don't like those criminal assholes either. So that is the end of my curse session from the 4th largest economy in the United States and the world.
And
yeah. I want my 40 acres now. I think but at any rate, Free, go ahead and lead us into
can I piggyback something on that too? So I currently live in a predominant, it's like 85% Black in the neighborhood I live in. I have always gotten along well with the Black community. If I'm going to have like racial issues, it tends to be with people who come over from Asia, if I'm being honest. I just lived over there for a while and I know too many offensive things to say. So but yeah, 85% black. But we moved in at the height of the financial crisis. I got a house for like 1/5 of what its value is now. So it's black, but it's people with a whole lot of money. And we get so caught up in these racial lines, and a lot of the real discrepancies have to do with income.
Yeah.
So I'm going door to door in my neighborhood because I know a lot of these people, and it's a good place to seek some support. And everything I hear is like, that guy should have been in jail forever, and
Yeah.
crime is the big problem, and we hope you don't think this is us. And it's like, no, I really don't. But then you have the activist judges, like you said, and it's interesting how some of these actions get spun into this racial discord that's, again, designed to separate us as people so that we're not looking at what's going on above. But yeah, I mean, the mayor debate, I mean, there were a good 40 people there, and like my wife and son and our chair and like 3 other people were white, and the piano player, which was an interesting spin. They're sort of flipping the script on that one. But yeah, we are programmed to split on racial lines, and the lines we should be splitting on are sort of those who are taking our rights away to hoard the power, and the rest of us.
I concur.
So building off of that, I like your approach of meeting people where they're at, hearing them, approaching them in a way where you want to know what's important to them, let them speak to their concerns and their passions about the community. But at the same time, you need to create a platform, you need to put it on a website, you need to have flyers. What do you do with that? Like, do you talk about the nuts and bolts of how the city operates and bond issues and how do you fund these things? Or do you go more towards the hot button issues, which are, safety or, community policing or issues like that? Like, how do you decide what you want to center your universe around? Oh, I like that. I like that.
It would be
a
an
lot.
honor to do anything. Larry is also a friend, one of my favorite people in the whole liberty movement, and I've learned a lot from Larry too.
You name drop more than Marcus too. You're really good at this.
Well,
Larry has been on the Black Powder podcast, and I shook hands with him in July. So yeah, he is a great guy.
Does he mind you speaking for the black community? We didn't cover him. You went Joy Reid. You skipped Larry altogether.
That's pretty.
As far as Larry goes, I think we're both on the same page as far as anti-authoritarianism. So yes, I can't speak for him. So no, I can't. He's far above my pay grade. So I'm just a enlisted right now. Larry's an officer.
And to be fair, if you can name drop Daryl Davis, like I'm not ashamed of that one. I'm pretty proud that I get that.
So I got to get him on here next. Daryl Davis.
I can see what I can do. He's busy.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got like a 2-hour Amazon documentary. He's big time.
I got free on. I literally got free on here, so I don't understand why I won't be able to get Daryl Davis on here. So.
Free is big time. He tries that, but he's big time.
Yeah, I do think of myself as the white Daryl Davis. That's the way I like to think of myself.
Oh man.
I also consider myself like the white Larry Sharp, like maybe Larry Dull.
Well,
I need sunglasses. I'm the white Marcus Matthews.
Well, there you go. You could be the white real libertarian. I hold a moniker over all shades of humanity, but you can go ahead and label yourself. Between you and Free, immediately, one of you guys can be the only real white libertarian, and that's fine because you're still ranked below me. So I just want to throw that out to either
that's
one.
That's pretty good. It's a subset of the only real libertarian.
We only get 20 acres and a goat.
Yeah, you're on that little carrot. The flow chart thing. You guys will be like 1-2 down. So I think
we'll be the ones by the mop and the bucket. I got it.
We don't season the goat, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Well, so back to your question, Free. So I think that I found a strategy that works for me. I don't know that it will work for everyone. I think when you are talking with people to sort of bridge that gap of hearts and minds, you got to do what works for you. But I don't like to force local issues that I'm pushing myself. I ask them, I address their issues, and then if you go to my website, the number one thing I have as one on my platform, one of my planks is preference voting. So whether it's ranked choice voting or approval voting, I am pushing a complete change in how we conduct local voting in Charlotte. And the reason I like to do that is most of the people I talk to have never even heard of it. So you're not bringing up an issue that generates like a preconditioned response. You genuinely open inquisitive conversation. So what are your most important issues? Okay, public safety. Why is public safety an issue to you? How has this affected you personally? Would this be something that would interest you as a solution? What else? Okay, and then we'll go through. Yeah, and let me tell you about my idea for preference voting. Have you ever heard of preference voting before? And they've never even heard of it. So now you've sort of you've created a trust, and now you've established a little bit of expertise in something they've never heard of, which I think builds on that trust for the other issues. And then you just leave them with like a card or a flyer and check it out and see if my other ideas make sense. And it's proven successful. I have a number of people who have reached out and are interested in volunteering. Most of them just want to place yard signs, which is again why we're pushing this fundraiser for yard signs. And I dropped the link for that one in the private chat. Because a lot of people are very intimidated by phone calling or going out and meeting people face to face, but they'll do events and they'll place yard signs. But it is definitely paying dividends.
Free. I'm looking for the private. Where's the private chat link? Free. Go ahead. Take it away.
Okay. Yeah, and then back to the way the city actually operates. Do you talk about that? Like, are people concerned with debt? Are they concerned with spending? Are they concerned with basically every local government's kicking the can down the road with unfunded liabilities like pensions and an aging workforce and rehiring and all those issues? Do those come up, or are people kind of oblivious to those?
So yes, but last election you saw a lot more of that. This election, the federal / national influence has creeped in a bit more. And then the big issue being this sales tax. Like this is the issue that people are talking about if they're following politics in Charlotte at a local level. One of the challenges that I come up against is people think that, well, I should say they have no idea what a bond issuance is. They're like, oh, we just issue a bond and that pays for it. And it's like, but that doesn't pay for it. We pay for it. We just pay for it later. Like that's all a bond does is, like you said, kick the can down the road. And then that's why. So last year, Charlotte raised property taxes. They also reevaluated property values, and they're only supposed to do that every 10 years. And it caused a massive increase, and people are pretty unhappy about that. And now they're coming right back and asking for the sales tax increase. Last year, they also gave the owner of the Panthers, who is a billionaire several times over, $250 million to renovate the playground that he has for millionaires in our city, so that he doesn't have to spend his billions on it. The year before that, they gave $130 million to a different billionaire who bid on the Panthers and lost so that he could build a tennis facility in Charlotte, because tennis is apparently popular in Charlotte. It's not. That's very sarcastic. But the giveaways have become absurd. And then, of course, they say they're not kickbacks, but these are all people that are buying into all the city council's consulting firms or the developers where their kids work. Like, it's just this big cycle of graft and corruption at the top. If you point that out, people get a lot more interested. People do not like the idea that they're struggling to put food on the table and the government is taking money from them to give it to billionaires. So learning the hot button words certainly makes a difference. But even so, this year, it is much more, the onus is on me to introduce the ideas. They're not bringing it up, like to your original question. Whereas 2 years ago, people wanted to talk about this stuff directly. They were way more tuned into the wider variety of local issues.
Interesting. So, one of the reasons I'm a libertarian is because I don't like government, and that's one of the.
That's so unique.
Yeah, it is very unique for being a libertarian, because I have a problem with myself telling myself, "You don't tell me what to do." When I want to do something, it was like, and I think every libertarian has an internal struggle with quote unquote authority. And how can you relay you not, because that's crazy when you go to public schools or you're any kind of certain type of even private schools where they indoctrinate you into government is the authority you need to constantly, when a cop pulls you, people will say sir to a cop older than them. And my parents are from down south. There is no way on God's green earth that I'm calling somebody younger than me sir. That it just doesn't equate in my upbringing, because sir was reserved for those of respect. There is nothing to respect about government. And I'm saying that laughing because as they're shut down, and my life hasn't changed one iota in the last 2 days as if it was something major. So how do you go out there in the public in a primarily Democratic where they think government is omnipotent? The Republicans do too, but especially Democrats, they're like, oh, they know what's best for us. I think they're the more what's best for us party. But how do you communicate these LP ideas to the constituents of Charlotte?
So I think the word respect is actually, like, you hit it right on the head. And this is going back to what Free was saying and asking earlier too. When I don't think most Democrats or Republicans really believe the government is like the solution per se, but they think it's better than what the other side wants to do. And so they're running away from something. They're not running towards something. And then that opens the room for the officials or whomever is creating the messaging for their party to introduce these ideas that they subscribe to because it's in opposition to the other side. I treat people with respect. Like, that's meeting the hearts and minds. They'll say stuff, and one of my favorite things is, like, people will say stuff and they'll be like, I know that's like a crazy idea, and I'm like, dude, I don't believe in driver's licenses, so, like, don't worry about your crazy ideas. And it goes over well. People think it's hilarious, and then they want to ask why I don't believe in driver's licenses. And I'm like, well, what I really don't believe in is that the government should restrict the operationalization of my freedom of movement. And this is why I have skepticism with anything the government wants to do. So you're telling me all these things that you want from the government. I want those things too. I just have a better way to get there. Keep talking to me about how you want to see the government provide the solution, because I bet I can show you a better way. And it goes a long way. Respect goes a long way. Just being cool to people. Like, imagine that, libertarians, if you're listening, like, not calling people names immediately upon meeting them goes a long way to, like, fostering better relationships.
I think that's a great segue into Free's sort of closing statements and questions, if he has any, because he has shown me a grand amount of disrespect on this show and called me the nut. And I was like, gee, bro, God, golly willikers, why would you say such mean things to me? And, I felt bullied. I don't do that to people. I'm the nicest guy on social media. I don't go out there and say any mean things to anybody. But Free, have anything?
When I do other people's shows, I like to be a little bit more empathetic and caring. And, I try to show a different side of myself than from the game show where, some people say I've come across a little harsh at times. But no, I mean, obviously a huge fan of Black Powder Podcast and the amazing people that run this, obviously you being the ringleader of that. But yeah, so I mean, am I getting a last question here? I still don't even know what we're doing. We're like an hour into this, and I don't even know how to roll.
We usually go an hour, and you could do. I'll give you another opportunity for a closing statement, but in a closing question, what is your most pressing question for Rob Yates and his candidacy at the moment?
I would frame it more as a burning question. I have a burning question for him. So
Okay.
I appreciate that you gave me the opportunity for this. You're obviously, Rob, you're, a very well-known person in the party. You're very active. You're, very active in your county party, your state party. What would you tell people that are on the fence about whether they should run for local office? How do you inspire them, and what would be a piece of advice you would give them if they're considering it?
Oh, if you're on the fence, maybe don't do it, or at least know what you're getting into. And I want to say that in contrast to, like, I want to encourage everyone listening to run for office again, and run to win, and run to learn, and run to get better, and run to pass along knowledge, and run to be a campaign manager if you hate running, and run so that you can run 20 more times in a row if that's what it takes. But if running for office is going to break you and kill your motivation and make you not want to do anything else, then there's plenty of other things you can do. I think the most important thing, like, get active, and don't wait for someone to tell you what to do. Like, really go get active. Find a local cause, and find a local cause with ultra leftists because it's defend the guard, or with ultra right wing because they're just pushing for freedom of speech somewhere that's being denied, and learn how they're operating. They've done a much better job than we have. I mean, I think there are reasons for that, and I think there's money that inherently will support the uniparty because it's taking power away, whereas it's harder for us to convince big money to support us because we're not giving them anything. But they have still taken that money and devised very effective tactics and strategies. Go learn. Find the person that is most different from you and sit down and find a couple things in common, because you will. And then run the next cycle, and get 2 other people to run. Put a slate together for your city council. Run for water commissioner. Run for fucking, if you have it, why can I not think of the organization that catches people's dogs?
Dog catcher?
But isn't there a specific?
Humane Society?
Yeah, well, there's an acronym for the people that go out. Whatever. Yeah, the dog catcher.
SPA, something.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But just run for it. Find one you can win. Look at what the vote margin is, and then figure out how to beat it. If you're in a small town, in North Carolina, we got a bunch that we're starting to target, and I don't want to give too much away, but next year, like, people need to win 100 votes, and they will win bigger races. And we're putting together strategies to do that now. But we could put the strategies together, but if we didn't have candidates that had run before and knew how to do it, it's useless. Like it's throwing good money at a bad problem. But now we have people that have run for multiple offices at multiple levels, and they exactly understand this game. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, don't lose yourself. Don't violate your principles. Stay true to who you are, for sure, because it will kill you otherwise. But this is a game. Like, we're playing a game. Game theory applies, but it's a game with life or death consequences, with consequences for your wallet, for your families, for our future. And they don't care, because the game is for power, and that's what they're pursuing. And so be ready to play, and be ready for them to push back.
Word. I think
the acronym was the DOGG is what you were looking for there.
You're like 6 for 6 on the jokes today.
Bree, you got a closing statement or anything?
No, like I was saying before, huge fans of both yours. Rob, I wish you the best of luck. I think you're doing a great job. See you out there working, man. I mean, it's brutal work. I've been involved myself, and was closely watching Woodcraft when he won his historic race in El Paso, and it's a lot of hours out there. Yeah, principles. Thank you. Yeah, me and Woodcraft argue about principles. I say, meet the voters where they're at and tell them what they want to hear, and he says, no, you got to stick to your principles. So we argue about that a little bit, but I wish you the best of luck, dude. You're doing a great job, and and North Carolina is doing a great job. Very impressed by everything North Carolina is doing, and Mecklenburg, and I think you guys are awesome. But am I supposed to plug my show too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, tomorrow night we have the Ladies of Liberty on. We have, we try to do that and highlight the Ladies of Liberty. And we're on Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We also have a show on Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we've had both of you guys on. You guys were awesome. Marcus has been on a couple of times and did great. I think everybody on Black Powder has been on except for Michael White, and we've been chasing him down. So, love having all you guys on and appreciate the opportunity to be on the show tonight.
Just real quick, you'll see me in the crowd tomorrow because I owe Amity a nuke, and I'm waiting till the end. Cowboys fan going down.
Wait. You're anti-Cowboys?
I'm from DC. I have DC sports tattoos.
This is the link on X to free, and I'm about to mute Rob here.
Aren't you in California?
Yeah, but I was born in Dallas. So my dad went to
one
SMU.
time that it's okay. I mean, I still feel bad for you, but you can't help it.
This is the link to Free's page on X. Please go there, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff, because he has a great show. I mean, I've been on it twice. He cheated me out of my 2-0 victory. I'm 1-1 on his show. But in my closing, I did, and I'm gonna keep this brief as possible.
Oh, Amity's talking to
you. Yeah. Can I just say real quick though? Tomorrow night, Amity, Dolby, Irene, Mavrikakis, and Jessica Fensky, and so it should be really awesome. Really great people, and so that'd be a lot of fun. So I just wanted to shout out their names too because I didn't have that pulled up in front of me. So
that's right. Go Cowboys.
And the Bears just beat the Cowboys, by the way.
The Bears.
Did they?
Yeah, that was absolutely horrible. But after
it keeps getting better.
The Bears.
We can have a whole nother episode on why I hate Jerry Jones, but that'll be for another time. I'm gonna say this. No, never mind. I'm not gonna say that. But I just want to say thank you to Rob Yates and Free, because one of the things I wanted to say tonight is how libertarians may not agree on a lot of core issues, but the principal core issue that we all can agree on, and I think that's the overarching issue, is liberty, where you're allowed to have your opinion as long as that opinion doesn't affect Free, doesn't affect Yates, doesn't affect me in any kind of negative way. We're allowed to have that opinion, and we are allowed to say, let the best idea win. And that's what libertarians need to go forward on the local level, because we have failed miserably on the federal level and on the state level. And it has to go back. I would love to start the Wu-Tang caucus of the Libertarian Party.
I'm 100% in. 100% in.
If we're going to
changed into my Wu shirt, and then I grabbed this one instead, and I'm glad I didn't. So,
just quick clarification: is it for the children?
It is for the children.
Okay.
That's why I want the Wu-Tang caucus of the Libertarian Party. If anybody goes forth, I'm automatically the first-term president. I'm going to serve for 2 years. We're going to build the Wu-Tang caucus of the Libertarian Party, because to parlay that into this part, the Libertarian caucus needs to expand more to the people that look like me. Black people are naturally libertarians. We like weed. We know the government is messed up. We know the government gets in the way. We know the government is full of shit. And how libertarians don't understand that is a natural block that we can bring in. You're talking about better food. You're talking about hip hop. You're talking about Wu-Tang. You're talking about all these things. And then we can expand to the Mexicans. Maybe can we
get Steppin too? I think we need Steppin. I think if we're doing that, we need Steppin.
I mean, my guy Robs went to the Alpha Phi Alpha. What was it? The candidate forum, sponsored by Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, the first Black fraternity in the United States, which is the fraternity my dad belongs to. And, that's one of the things. So stepping can be included in this whole process because we need to be a spectrum of America, because I'm tired of standing out at libertarian events because I'm a 6'5", 245-pound black guy, and I'm towering over all these weird people wearing weird clothes and looking like serial killers. I mean, we need a broader spectrum of...
Can I end with a quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because you make a good point. So I was, I guess it's about 4 years ago now. I was my daughter just started high school, and they had like something at the roller skating rink. I don't know what it is, like the track team or something. But so she's out there, I'm chaperoning, and I'm sitting next to a table, and it's like 7 black women. And so I am very extroverted, very gregarious, and I turn to him and start chatting and ask him, what is a libertarian? Like most of them had no idea. A couple were like, isn't that like sovereign citizens? Another one was like, it's like really extreme Republicans. And I'm like, no, like, here's what it is. And I lay it all out. We talk for a while. I end up exchanging information. So fast forward 3 years, 4 of those 7 people voted for our candidate, Mike Ross, and are active where they are locally. I've long thought that the two, like, I don't like identity politics, but if we must in that game, the 2 groups that have been wronged by our government more than anyone else are black people and Native Americans. And we are failing in our messaging if we are not getting out to those 2 groups.
Yeah. And currently it's liberty loving Americans. So you can add a third group to that.
Touche. They're
yeah. And that goes across a whole broad spectrum. So yeah, this is where the Libertarian Party needs to think about expansion and growth, because there is a natural audience for our message out there, but we're not doing a good enough job. That's why I am volunteering my time and dealing with people like Free, to my chagrin.
You're doing God's work.
I'm doing God's work. I'm doing Black Jesus's work, as I like to tell Tub all the time, because we have...
I mean, nobody's more affected by bad government than the black community. And, I'm with you. I don't like talking about identity politics either. But the majority of black people that run a business, they hit a ceiling of, they started running it out of their house, but then they run into all the, regulatory issues and the licensing and the insurance and all that. And they're running a successful business out of their house, and people are happy with their services, and they're doing a great job and they're improving their community, but then they hit government and all of a sudden they can't expand. They can't, do more. They can't bring their family into the business. Like, they hit all those issues. Right. So, I mean, I think they're a great community. I did a whole series of shows with Cash Kelly, who has a similar skin color to you there, Marcus. And he, that's what we were talking about, is like, bringing liberty into the inner city, and, making people realize that, like, they're captured by the government there. We want to help free them just as much as everybody else. Right. And, you were talking earlier, I love the Larry Sharp quote, where it's like, you can be as liberal or as conservative as you want to be. You just can't force it on anybody else. Right. And I mean, I think that's the message. We want you to do whatever you want to do. You just can't force it on anyone else.
And I don't see why that's so difficult, but we have a extreme uphill climb to get over that hump. And I want to thank individuals like you, Free, for doing what you do, Rob, for doing what you do, because this is where it begins. If we have to start at ground zero again, so be it, because we didn't do well in the federal, but now we have to start. We have a game plan, and it's with people like Rob and all the guests we had on before this in our local candidate series. You guys are the founders now, because we had a founding, a beginning. We reached the end this last election cycle. I hate to say that, but that's just the God's honest truth. We bottomed out. We got beat for somebody who wasn't even running. And, this is now the rebuilding period, because the party that had been built under Gary Johnson doesn't exist anymore.
I disagree with that slightly. I think if you're looking at it from the top down, it was a tough election cycle. And, obviously Kennedy had a lot of money behind him, and, it was not going to be, a successful election cycle, no matter who we ran. And, Chase is a friend of mine, and, I admire the hell out of Chase. My son got very fired up about politics because of Chase. And I'll, forever be grateful to him that he was the one. I said that Chase is the Ron Paul to my son. Like, he woke up my son like Ron Paul woke up me. And, so I'll forever be grateful to Chase for that. But back to your podcast. I mean, you guys are the OGs, and you guys have done a great job. And I love that you're doing this whole local series. And I've donated to, I think, everybody I've seen on here. I don't think I've ever even said this publicly, but I take all of my X money and I donate it to libertarian candidates.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, I've spent every cent on that. Anytime anybody is willing to take the time to come on your show and, put themselves out there and, obviously they're working 40 hours a week and they're dealing with their kids and they're doing all the stuff they've got to do and they're getting the libertarian message out there. I'm like, the least I can do is throw a few bucks to them. So that's the thing I would tell anybody that's watching tonight, skip a beer at the bar. I mean, those are like $25 now anyways, and throw that money to a candidate that's, spending their spare time out there spreading the message of liberty, especially locally.
Brew your own beer and donate it to them to sell at an event.
There you
That's
go.
what I'm talking about. All right. So absolute last word goes to Rob. You have anything to say before we end this podcast?
So both of you, thank you so much. And thank you for everything you're doing. Everyone watching, thank you. Like, we love the infighting. And I think there's a lot of room for, I'm not on some kumbaya hippie shit, like, but we can get along. We can appreciate what we're doing. We are in this fight together. The most disparately different libertarians have far more in common than we do with Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or JD Vance. They're pre-programmed tyrants trying to take away our rights, and we're the last bastion. I mean, we're the only ones that are talking about these things anymore, and that's by design. So just don't give up. I appreciate you immensely.
That's word.
Right back at you, brother.
Peace. So every time we end this podcast, and I hope Free can get in the rhythm of what I'm about to say here.
Are we dancing?
always no.
Okay.
We always end this podcast with the state slogan of the great state of New Hampshire, a Revolutionary War slogan. That's why I only fly Revolutionary War flags, because that's when America was at its best, when we understood what liberty and freedom was supposed to be. There's a lot of stuff I can say about that. But with that being said, live free
or die.